It should come as no surprise to no one that we live in a very digital world, even more so um, than 10 years ago, even 10 years before than that, even more to a point where clips of politicians, individuals can circle around the world so fast, you know, to quote the infamous Terry Pratchett, you know, a lie can get fast around the world before the truth can get its boots on. And if you think about a video clip, you know, if you replace obviously the word with lie, you know, a video clip can get faster around the world than a printed article can. Yeah, completely well and truly still holds true to this day. And you've only got to go back to 2016 to see people who were very, you know, very vocally pro remaining in the European Union and even the single market and customs union, to then obviously after the referendum, that massive sea change, because again they wanted to jump on board this nationalist wave. Again, we'll see how well that helps them, because again, sooner or later this wave will come crashing on the shore, and this will leave, I think, a lot of casualties behind it, mostly because of the fact that, again, there are so many video clips of people like Liz Truss being very, very vocally Remain, then changing to being a very ardent Brexiteer. And again, when this wave eventually crashes, there will be plenty of ammunition to fire back at her. And it's not just people like her, it's people like Lord Frost here today, who is again a very avid, very, very vocal Brexiteer. And we're going to get into, of course, the big lie that Leave told about the referendum. Again, of course, about, oh, we're not going to leave the single market and customs union. And if you want to challenge me on that, any leavers, look at their official campaign. Any of their promotional materials, they specifically said Britain would not be leaving the single market and customs union. Most of our problems today in the UK are revolving around that very decision, to which they said was not going to happen. So anyway, let's go jump straight into this article today. But before we do that, please do remember to hit that like, share, and subscribe button. And of course, down below, there are links to my Patreon page and a one-off donation link called Buy Me Coffee, where you can, well, buy me coffee. And as always, thank you very much to all those people who do support the channel that way. So on with the article. So this comes from The Independent. The title of Brexit Chief Lord Frost said, leaving the EU single market would cost Brits about £1,500 each. Considering what the claims he's been making recently, which we will get into, very, very interesting. So, Britain's chief Brexit negotiator warned that leaving the single market and customs union would cost about £1,500 per person, it has emerged. Lord Frost is now among the most hardest of Brexiteers in the government, arguing this week that the UK needs to ditch a European-style economy entirely. Again, not what people voted for. The hardest form of Brexit, Leavers shunned it. The Leave campaign shunned it, said that's not what we're doing. And again, as we said before, that journey of how we got from there to where we are now has been entirely driven by these hardcore Brexiteers demanding the hardest form of Brexit, something which was not put on offer and was said that we were not doing at the referendum. And of course, they've been terrified of having another referendum on either A, rejoining, or on the current deal. And I wonder why. So anyway, back to the article. He is trying to push hard to drive European judges out of the Brexit deal completely and oversaw the withdrawal from the single market and customs union. But before the referendum, whilst lobbying for the drinks industry, Lord Frost struck a far different tone. He acknowledged Brexit's massive costs. He told the Scottish Parliament Committee back in 2015 that the single market and the single trade policy were major benefits of EU membership. When we got to the referendum, I hope, there is a real debate about everything that Europe offers. You mentioned quite a few of those things. I would add the single market and the single trade policy to that, he told the devolved legislature at that time. Although estimates may vary about how much wealth the single market generates for the UK since we joined, it's probably on an order of 5, 6, 7, or 8% of an uplift of the GDP. For somebody on the average salary of, let's say, of about £1,500 a year, most people think that that's worth having. I think when you put those into terms, there's a very clear benefit, and that's because we don't see it every day. We've kind of forgotten about it, but it's there, and if we began to lose it, if we weren't part of it. Very interesting comments from Lord Frost at the time. And of course, Lord Frost estimates from before the referendum appear to have even been given now a grain of truth. The Government Office of Budget Responsibility now estimates that Brexit will cost us around at least £1,205 each over the next 15 years. This compares with obviously the very tiny economic boost for signing the free trade agreements. The analysis conducted by the University of Sussex UK Trade Policy Observatory for The Independent this month found that the post-Brexit trade deals will claw back almost £7. So those new trade deals, they're going to get back £7, and each one of us has probably lost over 1,000 more than that. We're only getting back £7. And of course, it gets even more fun because we've got his recent comments about this as well. But in a speech last month, Frost claimed otherwise, arguing that the, quote, hard Brexit was in fact essential. He told his audience in Lisbon, history shows us that it is genuine competition, regulatory and commercial, between states that has typically been the most reliable driver of innovation and progress. This is what some people, and I quote, hard Brexit. In its original sense of leaving the EU customs union and single market was essential. It was the only form of Brexit that allowed us the freedom to experiment and act and freedom to act. This is already happening, as you can see from some themes emerging, reflecting our different policy preferences in the UK. Lord Frost was ennobled by Boris Johnson after negotiating the Brexit agreement. He negotiated the deal as the Prime Minister and Special Advisor for Europe, largely taking over from the department from exiting the European Union. The government spokesperson said Lord Frost's earlier comments did not reflect his views. Lord Frost was speaking in this capacity as the chief executive of the Scottish Whisky Association, the spokesperson said, and his role was to speak on behalf of its members, and those comments do not reflect the views of this government. Yeah, and this isn't the only one, by the way. This isn't the only one, and I guarantee you, going forward, these I think are going to come even more because I said before, we live in a very, very media-prone age now. We have all their comments on record. These need to be, I think, flown around and fired back at these people even more for saying what they're saying now, contrasting with what they used to say about very positive lights about the EU and the benefits that it used to give, which again, stark contrast of what they're saying now when asked themselves about can you prove the benefits of Brexit, they can't really prove any of these supposed benefits for Brexit that they extol almost on a daily basis. But as always, thank you very much for watching. Please do remember to hit that like, share, and subscribe button. And of course, down below, there are links to my Patreon page and a one-off donation link called Buy Me Coffee, where you can, well, buy me coffee. And as always, thank you very much.